Is this a picture of the United States? No. This is a picture of Mexico. To those blacks that rebelled, this was their punishment. These are the black generals who fought for the independence of Mexico. Without black people, you're not gonna have the independence of Mexico from the conquistadors from Spain. The Spanish slave owners did not teach their slaves how to read. And until today, a lot of the older black people cannot read. If you go to the small towns, you will find the majority, if they're more than 65 years old, the majority cannot read. Welcome to Cuajinicuilapa. This is Mexico's most blackest city. This is the seat of Black Mexico, and all of the meetings of black issues, it is mostly going to be held here in Cuajinicuilapa. But if you do come today, as time goes on, it becomes less and less Afro-Mexicans and more mestizo. A lot of the Afro-Mexicans are mixing, miscegenating with the mestizo people, the Indian population, the Spanish population here. And every generation you have a result that looks less and less African. Another reason why this area, if it's Cuajinicuilapa or if it's Cojantes, Chacagua, La Sufre, Guerrero, all of these areas is becoming less and less black because a lot of the young men, especially the men and also the women, they are immigrating to the United States, mostly to the state of North Carolina. I believe you have more people in North Carolina that are black, that are Mexican, than that you do have here. Where in Mexico do you ever see the flag or the design or the shape of the African continent? Take a look. So this is, again, how slaves were brought to the country on these ships. And let's just go down this way. So you see in this painting, a black guy with a cow. And today, a lot of the economy is gonna be based on cows, cattle ranching, cowboys, and also agriculture. So agricultural products are gonna be coconuts, mangoes, lemons, papaya, watermelon, but cows are king here. Everybody that has land basically has cows, 5, 10, 20, 30 cows, and a lot of their wealth, a lot of their savings is gonna be in cows. Welcome to the museum here in Cuajinicuilapa. This is a Afro-Mexican museum, and it is pretty big. So let's get started talking about the history of this place. Every community you go to here, they have something different to say about how Africans arrived. One of the things they will tell you is that Africans arrived on a ship. It basically fell, it got stuck, and they ran away. That's one of the stories in these communities. Other stories, like in Cojantes, it's gonna be Africans came with a Spanish guy, and that's how they arrived, working the lands, mostly to work on cotton farms, sugar cane, tobacco, chili. At least that's what the story goes. But here in Cuajinicuilapa, there's also another story, which is gonna be the Africans arriving from Veracruz all the way to Puebla or Mexico City, and then making their way down. Some have escaped, they're called cimarrones, and then some, I believe, they're just gonna be slaves that were forced to come to this area. And this area is basically cotton country. If there's any ships that came from Africa all the way to the Pacific, they're going to be coming from Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, around that area, Congo, Cameroon, all the way down to South Africa, all the way on the other side to the Philippines, and then making its way to the Pacific Ocean here in Mexico. So you can see the indigenous people, and this is where we're at right now, Cuajinicuilapa, Punta Maldonado. I've been there. This is gonna be Chacagua. This is where you're gonna find black people. So Chacagua, La Sufre, Charco, Rio Grande is gonna be here. Puerto Escondido is actually right here. And anything on Costa Chica, this is called Costa Chica here, the small coast, this is where you're gonna find black people. And the majority of them are gonna be on this side here. So, I mean, Santo Domingo, Tepezcla, you have like a majority towns here in Cojantes, Cerro de la Esperanza. They're not even on the map, but that is a story here. This is the ship that Africans arrived on And it's basically going to be the same route from West Africa, a lot of times to the Gulf of Mexico in Veracruz. That's where Mexico began. That's where the first Africans arrived. And the first Africans arrived at the same time the first Spanish arrived. When Hernan Cortez arrived, that's when the Africans arrived. So African people, Black Mexicans, have been here as long as the Spaniards. If any of you guys have studied US history or slavery history, you can see this. You've probably seen things like these. Slaves at the bottom of the ship being sick, most of them dying. In Mexico, it is said that over 250,000 people, Africans, arrived. I'm probably going to say the number is a lot greater than that. And I'm also going to say the numbers that were taken from Africa is going to be way, way greater than that, because the percentage of people that died on what they say is the Middle Passage, that's what they say, is much, much greater. So on the slave ship, like they did in the United States, or the slaves going to the United States and all of the Americas, they separated the slaves based on tribes. So they did not speak the same language and increase the chances of rebelling. So you can have a Mandican slave, a Uruba slave, all of these tribal land, they had slaves mixed in. So this behind me is a mine, a silver mine, and a lot of the Black people that came here were mainly brought to work on mines, mining for silver mostly, gold, also sugar plantations, tobacco, cotton, just working on farms, domestic work, anything. And to tell you, not only did landowners buy slaves, but all sorts of Spanish people, what would become as Mexican people, bought slaves. Notaries, they were gifted during dowries, the military bought them. Everybody used slaves. They're also given as a gift to the nuns in the Catholic Church. So these are Indians that you're looking at. And then you also have Africans. During this time with disease and being overworked, a lot of Indians died. And the Spanish were like, hey, the Africans are good for this job. Their bodies could endure this. And still today, a lot of this notion that Black people are stronger and could endure more and that they don't feel as much pain still happens in sports, in doctors, in many aspects of life. But they were basically brought to work here. On the top, you can see the cotton. This right here is a free slave. This is how they dress like the Spanish royalty. And this is a guy here, lady here. But there's also free slaves here in Mexico, but a lot of them are going to be actual slaves. There were runaway slaves. And the thing that I want to say about Afro-Mexicans, as well as African Americans and anybody else, their story and the story of these people in the Americas, Africans in the Americas, I would say is mostly a story of just like rebellion, of trying their best to escape problems. These people were the free Blacks. And you can see them wearing the Spanish dress, dressing like the Spanish. Let's go down this way. This is some of the culture in the area. You basically have bulls, horses, cows. As we get down below, this is the dance of the devil. Bailar di Diablo, I think it's called something like that. But the lady did say, she did correct me, she did say this is 100% African dance, is not mixed with indigenous. Like I've said before, it is a 100% African dance. And you can see the iconic drum instrument. There's another instrument here. I don't even know exactly what it's called. Is it called the kablash or calabash? Because I know there's like something inside. This is also a musical instrument. This is the jaw of a donkey. This is what some of the communities are playing. So here, some of the local communities in this area are playing traditional African music. And there's also like a lot of traditional African dances. And this is like their celebrations. July 25th, this is what they're doing. And here in Cuajinicuilapa, it's basically the economy is going to be based on agriculture and animal husbandry. You got cows. Cows is basically the main thing. You're going to have pigs, yes. chicken. Yes, they have watermelon, lemons, mangoes, lemons. So you can see like homes like this were the traditional homes here in Cuajinicuilapa. This is not Africa. This is coastal Mexico. Behind me is a picture, a painting of the great general and Mexican president, Vicente Guerrero. He is from the state of Guerrero. Cajinicuilapa is in the state of Guerrero. And he is black. A lot of pictures you do look at is gonna be him painted a whole lot more white. Again, this is 200 years ago, so they're not gonna have exact portraits. Most of the Africans that were brought to Mexico were men. So here in Mexico, the reason why some people say Afro-Mestizo is because a lot of the African men, they mixed with Indian women, and a lot of times this could be forceful mixing. So the result is gonna be a person or a girl that looks like this. So here's the father, the mother, and then the daughter here. And then on this side, you're gonna have a Spanish guy, African women. This is also forceful. And then you're gonna have a mulatto. Let me tell you what a mulatto is, or where the word mulatto comes from. It's gonna come from the word mule. So what is a mule? It's gonna be a male donkey and a female horse. But a mule cannot reproduce. So that is the justification, at least in the United States sense, that you can rape a African woman, a black woman, because she will not reproduce. And they are also different species. A white person and a black person are different species. So next time you hear the word mule, think about where it comes from and its implications. These are the black generals who fought for the independence of Mexico. Without black people, you're not gonna have the independence of Mexico from the conquistadors from Spain. So this right here is a turtle, and it is supposed to be like another African dance. Is this a picture of the United States? No. This is a picture of Mexico. To those blacks that rebelled, this was their punishment. Like the United States and like many other American territories, black people were treated in a very, very similar way. Lynchings, killings, rape, and lots of brutality. This is a white man, and this is a African man. This is also part of the tradition here. I believe this is some kind of dance, if I'm not mistaken. Here in this museum, they are including the Olmecs as African people. Of course, there's a lot of debate on that, and I'm not gonna get into it, but in this museum, they are. So you have the Indians dying, the Spanish, the Africans coming, and it's gonna go all the way to, this is Miguel Hidalgo. This is what Mexicans say is the father of Mexico, and he is the one that basically started the war of independence against the Spanish. This is the legendary Yanga. This right here is Jose Maria Morelos. He is another Afro-Mexican and general. The states of Morelos is named after him, and the city of Morelia in Michoacan is named after him. Again, like with a lot of pictures, they are going to make him appear a whole lot more white than he is. You can see the black generals, the black fighters that helped Mexico get its independence. This is another Vicente Guerrero and the flag of Mexico. So these are some of the musical instruments brought to Mexico by the Africans and the traditions. So until today, the balafon and all of these other marimba instruments are here. So you guys can see I don't have any musical abilities. You're supposed to be playing with two hands, but I'm holding the camera on this hand. If you guys do want to listen to this instrument, some of the best artists, some of the best musicians are going to be from Mali. Just take a look at Toumani Diabate's album. So here you have the time of revolution. And just so you know, Mexico was revolting against all of these landowners who were owning so much of the land. Few people own all of the land, and most of the people are just workers. So do you see this picture, this painting of an African reading? Just like the United States, the Spanish slave owners did not teach their slaves how to read. And until today, a lot of the older black people cannot read. If you go to the small towns, you'll find the majority, if they're more than 65 years old, the majority cannot read. A lot of the younger children can read, but in the 1960s, just in Mexico alone, 38% of the population cannot read. And in the coastal part where the black people live, the overwhelming majority, 90% cannot read back then, and 80% of the people who are alive today in their 60s and their 70s and their 80s still cannot read. Some of them are lucky enough to know the numbers, but reading, like you've seen in some of the videos, it's not something that's, to be joked about, but this history goes all the way back to slavery time. This miseducation and not allowing any forms of education, but just working in the farms. This goes back to the tradition of slavery. So, like I said, Africans came in the time of Hernan Cortez, the first Africans. This is the marimba here, this musical instrument. This musical instrument is the marimba. And this is gonna be sugar canes. I believe this is gonna be Veracruz. If I'm not mistaken, this is supposed to be Veracruz. And until today, or to this day, one of the biggest things that Veracruz produces is sugar canes. The few black people that are left are producing and transporting and working in sugarcane. So the history and legacy is still here. This is as time is changing. You have black people in the military. I don't know what this is exactly supposed to mean. I believe this is a lot more recent. Oh no, just this is the painting for sale. And here they are. This is Miguel Hidalgo, Vicente Guerrero, Jose Maria Morelos. This is the beginning of Mexico. These are three of Mexico's most important figures, along with Benito Juarez. One of the last things I want to say is this idea of branding and tattoos. I don't have any tattoos. I'm not making fun of anybody who does have tattoos, but tattoos, it basically starts with the history of slavery, branding. And you can see they're branding, in this case, they're actually branding the slaves who are rebelling. But just like with cows, if you look at any cows, you'll see the branding of the owners. This is the same thing they did with slaves in all of the Americas, also in Mexico. And if a slave was really rebellious, they would put that mark on their face so everybody knows. So just like the United States and many parts of the Americas, slaves are for sale. In Mexico, in the year 1750, 1758, a male slave between the ages of 20 to 50 years old is going to be worth about 250, 300 pesos. A woman of similar age is going to be worth a little bit less. Children is going to be worth maybe 125 pesos, 150 pesos. Then you're going to have babies, 75 pesos, and those are very elderly and very sick, 25 pesos. So this is the sign for Cuajinicuilapa. And let's look here. Again, you have the African women always carrying things on their head. Cuajinicuilapa, but now it just seems to be a market. So let's go down this way. You got food. You got food here and everything. You got a market this way. ¿Cómo está, señor? ¿Qué tal? ¿Usted es de aquí? Nació aquí, de Cajinicuilapa. ¿La vida es mejor ahora o mejor antes?
La de antes, todo está caro. Y antes todo era barato. Había mucho trabajo.
In Cuajinicuilapa and Costa Rica, what time is life better?
It's like he say, before it was have over here like a lot of sandia, papaya, melon, everything. It was free because a lot of people was
Growing.
Yeah, and then now if you want to eat like papaya, you have to buy, and then it's too expensive. Yeah, and this is why it was better before.
But now you have people that have a car, people that have motorcycles, people that have a nice house, people have money.
Yeah, but now everything you have to pay. If you don't have money, you don't have you don't go and have that thing, you know, like a phone, because you have to pay bills. Okay? And everything that we have now, you have to pay. If you don't have the money, you can have it. See? Most people they can eat because they can go to the river and then they keep fish because the river is gone. See? Because over here they put the president, they put technology and then put we call the canales, we make the pressure.
Yeah.
And then they close the river. And then they sell the water. See, before, and this time, you can go eat, take the camarones, everything. And then you make a cookie. Then you eat free. See, now, no. Yeah? Before, see, and this time, we was to have a farm to Barajilla. And then we put the chiles, tomates, plátanos, sandía, melon, and then we see like yerba mora, there was a grout and sale. And then you cut, put, and eat. Now, no, you have to buy. Because you have to have a take care. They don't go out by themselves like it before.
Now, okay, so you're one of the few people that have come back to Mexico. The majority of people that go to California or Cuajinicuilapa or North Carolina, they never come back. Why don't majority of people come back?
No regresa porque no tienen nada aquí. They don't have nothing over here.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, they spend the money. They live like they don't have nothing over here. This is why when I coming over here, I was have a lot of farms, 200 acres. I was have over here.
200 hectáreas.
105 vacas. So, and this is why I coming over here because I was to have a money. I was making big money.
Is life better before or now?
Today.
Why?
Right? Because everything is under control. There are more benefits for the population. It's we have more services.
Okay.
We have, the people they have more experience on general things, and altogether is good.
¿La vida es más difícil antes o ahora?
Era mejor antes.
¿Por qué?
Porque había de todo, no se compraba las cosas, las agarraba uno, se las comía y sembraba uno, más barato todo, y ahora está caro todo se compra. Todo, hasta los chipiles, la hierba. Ajá. Eso es lo más trabajoso, pues, porque si no tiene uno dinero, ¿cómo vamos a comer? Antes sí era mejor. Sí, porque había pescado, estaban los ríos, había de todo, pues. Venado, iguana, conejo, había muchas cosas, pues, pero ya ahora ya no.
La vida es mejor ahora o mejor antes?
Sí, pues había mucho elote, maíz, pescado, frijol, hierba mora, ejote, había conejo, venado,
Y ahora ya no hay.
y ahora ya se acabó ya. Si ves un conejito, pero muy solito, ¿por qué? Que la gente, si no tiene resorte, tiene una arma, ¡pum! Y ya la mató. Ya se quedó pensa el conejito. Si es un venado,
Ya no hay conejo.
rápido lo ven, lo matan y ya lo comen y se acabó. Ya no dejan para que reproduzcan. Por eso ya no hay. Entonces, hoy carecemos de muchas cosas, porque lo que hay son puras vacas, toros, y si hay peces, pero en un almacén donde lo están criando.
Welcome to Punta Maldonado, Guerrero. The locals call it El Faro. And this place is very important historically because this is where it's said that African slaves embarked on the coast of the Pacific. We are having lunch. This is a shrimp and fish soup. We got our Fanta tortilla here, overlooking the beautiful Pacific Ocean here in Punta Maldonado. This is Punta Maldonado. Again, like in other communities in this area, a lot of the people here are in North Carolina. They might be in Winston or Concord or Raleigh, but this is the reality. You do have some tourists from Mexico City, but most of the tourists are going to be local tourists from the other villages, Cuajinicuilapa. On the weekends, that's where the families and people enjoy their time. It's a fishing community, and a lot of the younger people, a lot of the men, they fish at night. There are some restaurants, like the food we just had, but mostly the internet is not so good here. There's about 2 small hotels, and the infrastructure isn't good. You have one road leading all the way to Cajinicuilapa, but other than that, there's not much. And yes, like in the other times we have went to, historically, or a few generations ago, Punta Maldonado was majority Afro-Mexican, but today it's mestizo, indigenous people. They make up a minority, 10, 15%. You can still see in the faces of the people that there's black people, black DNA here, but the majority are really gone.